I've been carried by a whisper through the chaos of my mind. You remind me who I am when the world pulls me outside. In the stillness you awaken what my heart was made to see. Every breath becomes a promise that you're living here in me. It is well with my being when my soul aligns with you. Every storm becomes a silence. Every fear is passing through. You restore my inner gardens where your love is always speaking. I am whole, I am held. It is well with my being. When the shadows try to linger and the old voice calls me back, you uncover truth within me. Show me nothing's ever lacked. You are peace inside my vessel. You are calm within my sea. And my being finds its anchor when identity leads me. It is well with my being when my soul aligns with you. Every storm becomes a silence. Every fear is passing through. You restore my inner gardens where your love is always speaking. I am whole, I am held. It is well, it is Here I lay down every burden. Here I breathe in perfect rest. Here my soul remembers Eden. Here my spirit feels its best. You are harmony within me. You are truth that keeps me seeing. In your light I am restored. It is well with my being. It is well with my being when your presence fills my frame. All the fragments come together as my soul calls out your name. You restore my inner gardens where your peace is ever streaming. I am whole, I am yours. It is well, it is It is well. With my being. With my being.
For a long time, many of us have read certain verses in the Bible and felt uneasy. Verses that sound harsh, violent, even contradictory to love. And without realizing it, those interpretations shaped how we saw God, how we saw ourselves, and how we saw the world. But let's pause for a moment and ask a simple question. If Jesus Christ said The kingdom of God is within you. And Paul the apostle said, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Then wouldn't that mean the language of scripture is pointing us inward? Wouldn't that mean what we are reading is not just about events happening outside of us, but processes happening within us? Because the Bible is not just a historical record. It is a layered book, a book of symbols, metaphors, patterns, poetry, and inner language. And when symbolic language is read literally, it can turn a message of transformation into a message of fear. So today, we are going to slow down. We are going to look again, not to argue, not to defend, but to understand. Because what if these difficult verses were never describing violence toward people, but the inner process of awakening? So take a breath and let's begin to see. Deuteronomy 20 verse 1. It says, when you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God is with you. Let's break it down symbolically. Battle represents inner conflict or process of transformation. Enemies represent opposing thoughts, misaligned patterns. Paul told us, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers of darkness, against powers. Paul never mentioned demons. He never mentioned Satan. He did not mention invisible beings. He didn't. Because they are opposing thoughts or misaligned patterns. Horses represent strength or force or momentum of thoughts. Chariots represent structured systems or reinforced beliefs. Numerous means overwhelming thoughts or strong conditioning. Do not be afraid means do not yield to fear. The Lord your God with you represents truth or alignment present within. This verse sets the tone. Transformation feels like a battle. When you go out, meaning this is intentional. You are confronting, engaging, no longer ignoring. Your enemies are not people. They are patterns within. Fear-based beliefs, inherited teachings, conditioned responses. And that is why Paul will say, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Your enemies are not people. Then it says, you will see horses, chariots, and many people. This represents how strong and structured these patterns are. They are reinforced over time, supported by systems, deeply embedded. So it can feel overwhelming. But the instruction is, do not fear. Why? Because fear gives power to the pattern. And then it says, God is with you. Meaning, truth is already within you. You are not fighting alone. You are not trying to create alignment. You are returning to it. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you begin confronting deeply rooted beliefs or patterns that feel overwhelming. For example, questioning long-held beliefs that shaped your identity. Confronting fear-based thinking that feels stronger than you. Feeling outnumbered by your own thoughts and conditioning. You begin to see growth can feel like you versus everything you've known. But the truth is, you are not alone, because clarity is already within you. And that is what this verse represents. The beginning of inner transformation, where confronting deeply rooted patterns may feel overwhelming, but alignment is already present within, removing the need for fear. Next verse. And he shall say to them, hear, O Israel, today you are on the verge of battle with your enemies. Do not let your heart faint. Do not be afraid, and do not tremble or be terrified because of them. Symbolic breakdown. Hear means receive or become aware. Israel represents aligned awareness, or one who wrestled and sees clearly. Today means present moment or now. Heart represents inner state or center of being. Faint means lose strength or lose clarity. Afraid or tremble or terrified represents fear responses or emotional overwhelm. Enemies represent opposing thoughts or misaligned patterns. Now awareness speaks clearly. Hear, O Israel. Meaning, pay attention. Not as information, but as alignment. Next, it says today. This is important because it shows transformation happens now, not in the past, not in the future, but in the present moment. Then comes the instruction: do not let your heart faint. Meaning, do not lose clarity, strength, or alignment. Then it repeats: do not be afraid. Do not tremble. Do not be terrified. This repetition shows how strong fear can be, because fear weakens clarity, distorts perception, and makes patterns appear stronger than they are. So awareness is stabilizing you before engagement. Because if fear governs you, you lose alignment even before the battle begins. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you feel overwhelmed before facing something challenging. For example, anticipating a difficult situation and feeling anxious or fearful. Overthinking a problem until it feels bigger than it is. Feeling emotionally shaken before even taking action. You begin to see fear often comes before the actual confrontation. And if you allow it, it weakens you before anything even happens. And that is what this verse represents. The stabilization of the inner state, where awareness reminds you not to let fear take control, ensuring you remain grounded and aligned before engaging with opposing patterns. Next verse. For the Lord your God is he who goes with you. Goes with you is constant presence or inseparable alignment. Never leave nor forsake is unbroken connection or continual awareness. God represents source or truth or inner life. With you means within you, not external. This directly echoes, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Because both are revealing the same truth. Alignment is not something that comes and goes. It is constant. So when it says goes with you, it is not saying sometimes present, sometimes absent. It is saying always present. Even when you feel confused, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel misaligned, truth has not left. The only thing that shifts is your awareness of it. This is why you don't need to search for it externally. Wait for it to arrive, because it is already within you. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you realize that clarity was always available, even when you felt lost. For example, looking back and seeing that you knew the right thing deep down all along. Realizing that your inner knowing never actually disappeared. Understanding that confusion came from distraction, not absence of truth. You begin to see truth does not leave. It is your attention that shifts. And that is what this connection reveals. I will never leave you nor forsake you means alignment is constant. Truth is always present within you. And transformation comes from becoming aware of what has never left. Next verse. Then the officer shall speak to the people, saying, what man is there who has built a new house and has not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle and another man dedicate it. Officers represent governing thoughts or organizing awareness. Build a house represents constructed identity or belief system. Not dedicated means not fully aligned or not established in truth. Return to his house means go back or complete alignment first. Die in battle means lose clarity or collapse under pressure. Another dedicate means another pattern takes over. Now we see a key principle. You cannot enter transformation while unfinished internally. Build a house. This represents forming a new identity, new understanding, new belief system, new way of seeing, but not dedicated. Meaning, it is not yet grounded, established, or fully aligned. So the instruction is go back. Why? Because if you enter the battle unstable, you risk losing what you started. Lest he die. Not physical death, but loss of clarity. The new understanding can collapse, be replaced, be overtaken, and then another will dedicate it, meaning another pattern takes over and defines your identity. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you try to face deep challenges before fully grounding yourself in a new understanding. For example, adapting a new mindset, but not fully integrating it before facing pressure. Starting personal growth, but not stabilizing it before confronting deeper issues. Entering difficult situations without being rooted in clarity. You begin to see growth requires foundation first. Because if the foundation is not solid, then under pressure, it can collapse. And that is what this verse represents. The importance of completing inner alignment before engaging deeper transformation. Ensuring that what is being built within you is stable enough to withstand the process. Next verse. Who has planted a vineyard and has not eaten of it? Vineyard represents cultivated inner life or place of fruit. Garden, Eden, represents original state of alignment or cultivated awareness. Planted is intentional development. Man placed in the garden is the responsibility to tend and keep. Not eaten is not experienced or not embodied. Fruit represents results of alignment or lived truth. This directly echoes the Garden of Eden. In Genesis, man is placed in the garden to tend, cultivate, and keep it. The garden represents your inner life, a space where growth happens, where fruit is produced, where alignment is maintained. Now in Deuteronomy, the vineyard carries the same meaning. It is a cultivated inner system. But here is the key. It says, has not eaten of it. Meaning, the person has planted, has cultivated, but has not yet experienced the fruit. This is important because in Eden, the issue was also about what is consumed, what you take in, agree with, internalize. So the vineyard and the garden both point to cultivation plus consumption. Not just growing truth, but living it. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you've done inner work, but haven't yet fully lived the results of that work. For example, learning new perspectives, but not yet applying them in daily life. Developing healthier patterns, but not experiencing their full benefit. Doing the work internally, but not yet seeing it reflected externally. You begin to see it's not enough to plant. build, and start. You must partake. You must live it. And that is what this connection reveals. The vineyard echoes Eden. The inner life must not only be cultivated, but experienced. Because true alignment is not just grown, it is lived and embodied. Next verse. And what man is there who is betrothed to a woman and has not married her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle and another man marry her. Symbolic breakdown. Betrothed represents connected or attached or drawn toward. Woman represents inner perception or receptive nature. Not married represents not yet unified or not fully integrated. Return means go back or complete the union. Die in battle means lose clarity under pressure. Another marry means another partner takes possession. Now we move into union. Being betrothed means there is connection, there is intention, there is attachment, but it is not yet complete. Marriage represents full integration, where two become one. There is no division. Alignment is stable. So this verse is showing if there is partial attachment or incomplete integration, then entering the battle is dangerous because your attention is divided. Part of you is engaged. Part of you is unfinished. And under pressure, that division can weaken you, destabilize you, and cause loss of clarity. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you are emotionally or mentally attached to something that is not fully resolved before facing deeper challenges. For example, being connected to a new way of thinking, but not fully committed to it. Holding on to something emotionally while trying to move forward. Being in between two states, old and new, without full integration. You begin to see divided focus weakens alignment, because transformation requires wholeness, not partial commitment, not incomplete union. And that is what this verse represents. The necessity of full integration before transformation, where incomplete attachment or divided alignment must be resolved to ensure stability and clarity in the process. Next verse. What man is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him return. Fearful means governed by fear or misaligned perception. Spirit of fear is mindset or inner pattern. Return is step back or realign. Power is inner strength or stability. Love is alignment or wholeness. Sound mind is clarity or disciplined awareness. This verse directly echoes, God has not given us a spirit of fear, because both are revealing fear is not from alignment. Fear is not your true nature, not your original state. It is a learned pattern, a conditioned response. So in Deuteronomy, if someone is ruled by fear, they must step out. Why? Because they are not operating from truth. Now Paul expands it. Instead of fear, you are given power, which is inner strength to stand. You are given love, which is alignment with truth or wholeness. You are given sound mind, which is clarity or stability. So the contrast is clear. Fear equals instability. Truth equals stability. This is why fear cannot remain. It distorts perception. It makes enemies seem bigger. It makes problems seem overwhelming. It makes clarity seem distant. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where fear clouds your thinking and affects your decisions. For example, overthinking situations and imagining worst-case scenarios, feeling overwhelmed before even taking action, letting fear influence how you see yourself or your ability. You begin to see fear is not truth. It is a distortion. And when you step out of it, clarity returns. And that is what this connection reveals. God has not given us a spirit of fear means fear is not your true state. And before transformation can happen, fear must be removed so you can operate from power, clarity, and alignment. Next verse, Deuteronomy 20, verse 9. And so shall it be, when the officers have finished speaking to the people, that they shall make captains of the armies to lead the people. Officers finished speaking represents clarity completed or instruction received. Captains represent governing thoughts or leadership within. Armies represent inner forces or faculties or energies. Lead is direction or guidance or alignment in action. People represent thoughts or inner processes. Now we see the next step. After clarity comes order. The officers' awareness have spoken, instructed, and prepared. Now structure is established. Captains. These represent governing thoughts. The thoughts that lead, direct, and guide. Because within you, not all thoughts should lead. Some thoughts react, fear, and distort, but others align. So before engaging, leadership must be assigned. Meaning, you must decide what thoughts lead and what voice you follow. Then the armies are led. This shows your inner forces are now organized, directed, and aligned. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you intentionally choose how you think before taking action. For example, deciding to operate from clarity instead of fear. Choosing grounded thoughts to guide your actions. Organizing your mindset before facing a challenge. You begin to see not every thought deserves leadership. You must assign authority to thoughts that are aligned, stable, and clear. And that is what this verse represents: the establishment of inner order, where after receiving clarity, aligned thoughts are given leadership to guide your actions, ensuring that transformation is directed rather than chaotic. Next verse. When you go near a city to fight against it, then proclaim an offer of peace to it. City represents structured system or belief system or mindset. Go near is approach or become aware of it. Fight is confront or engage. Proclaim is declare or bring awareness. Peace is alignment or harmony or restoration. Now we see something very powerful. Before confrontation, offer alignment. When you go near a city represents a structured system, a belief system, a mindset, a way of thinking, something organized and established. Now, instead of immediately attacking or destroying, the instruction is offer peace. This means offer alignment first, bring clarity, present truth, create the opportunity for realignment. Because not every pattern needs force. Some patterns can be understood, corrected, and integrated. So before engaging aggressively, awareness gives the system a chance to align. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where you approach a situation with understanding before reacting. For example, questioning a belief instead of immediately rejecting it. Seeking understanding before confrontation. Approaching a problem with clarity instead of aggression. You begin to see transformation is not always force. Sometimes it is invitation. An invitation to align, adjust, and integrate. And that is what this verse represents. The principle of approaching with alignment before confrontation, where awareness first offers clarity and harmony, allowing for transformation without force when possible. Next verse, Deuteronomy 20:11. And it shall be that if they accept your offer of peace and open to you, then all the people who are found in it shall be placed under tribute to you and serve you. Accept peace is receive alignment or agree with truth. Open means become receptive or allow entry. People in it means thoughts within that system. Tribute means come under authority or alignment. Serve you means become aligned with higher awareness. Now we see the outcome. When alignment is accepted, integration happens. If they accept, meaning the system receives truth, agrees with clarity, and becomes open. Open to you. This is important because transformation requires openness, not force. Now what happens? The people serve you. This represents integration. The thoughts within that system no longer resist, no longer oppose. They now align with truth. Tribute does not mean oppression here. It means coming under proper authority. So, what was once misaligned, separate, and conflicting now becomes part of alignment. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where a belief or pattern shifts once you understand it clearly. For example, realizing something and it naturally aligns with your new understanding. Changing your perspective and your thoughts begin to follow that clarity. Integrating a new mindset where old patterns no longer resist. You begin to see not everything needs to be destroyed. Some things can be realigned, integrated, and transformed. And that is what this verse represents. The integration of alignment, where once a system receives truth, its internal patterns come under alignment and begin to serve clarity instead of resisting it. Next verse. Now, if the city will not make peace with you, but war against you, then you shall besiege it. City represents structured belief system or mindset. Will not make peace means refusal to align or resistance to truth. War is active opposition or internal conflict. Besiege is surround or apply pressure or sustained confrontation. Now we see the other outcome. When alignment is rejected, if the city will not make peace, meaning the system resists truth, refuses clarity, holds onto distortion. So what happens? War begins. This is inner conflict, where truth is present, but the pattern resists. Now the instruction is besiege it. This is powerful because it shows transformation becomes intentional and sustained. To besiege means to surround, apply consistent pressure, not withdraw. This represents consistent awareness where you keep confronting the pattern, keep applying truth, and do not allow it to operate unchecked. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where certain patterns don't easily change and require consistent effort. For example, repeatedly challenging a belief that keeps resurfacing. Dealing with habits that resist change and require persistence. Confronting thoughts that don't align and continually bringing clarity to them. You begin to see some patterns integrate easily. Others require consistent confrontation. And that is what this verse represents. The necessity of sustained awareness, where resistant patterns must be consistently confronted and surrounded by truth until they can no longer maintain their position. Next verse. And when the Lord your God delivers it into your hands, you shall strike every male with the edge of the sword. Delivers into your hands means clarity brings it under control or awareness gains authority. Strike means confront or remove. Male represents active expressions or outward manifestations. Edge of the sword represents sharp truth or discernment, echoing Hebrews 4:12. The word of the Lord is sharper than any two-edged sword. Now we see the result of consistent confrontation, besieging. When it is delivered, meaning the pattern is now exposed, weakened, no longer in control. It has come under awareness. Now comes removal. Strike every male. The male represents active expressions, which are behaviors, outward manifestations, and visible actions. So this shows once the system is exposed, its expressions must be removed, not partially, but completely. Then with the sword represents truth, not false, but discernment. The ability to separate, identify, and remove what is not aligned. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where, after gaining clarity, you begin to remove the visible expressions of a pattern. For example, stopping behaviors that no longer align with your understanding, cutting off habits that were sustained by old beliefs, making clear decisions that reflect your new awareness. You begin to see clarity leads to action, because once something is seen clearly, it can no longer be allowed to continue. And that is what this verse represents. The removal of outward misalignment, where once a pattern is brought under awareness, its visible expressions are cut off through truth and discernment, ensuring it can no longer operate. Next verse, Deuteronomy 20 verse 14. But the women, the little ones, the livestock, and all that is in the city, all its spoil, you shall take as plunder for yourself, and you shall eat the enemy's plunder, which the Lord your God gives you. Women represents receptive nature or perception. Little ones represent new awareness or undeveloped thoughts. Livestock represent instincts or conditioned patterns. Spoil is what remains after exposure. Take is bring into awareness or reclaim. Eat is internalize or integrate. Giving is made available through clarity. Now we see something very important. Not everything is destroyed. After truth exposes and removes the root and the active misalignment, what remains is reordered. The women represent your perception, the way you receive, interpret, and understand. The little ones represent new awareness, thoughts that are not yet fully formed or not yet distorted. The livestock represents instincts, which are habits, tendencies, and conditioned responses. Now, instead of being misaligned and uncontrolled, they are reclaimed. Take, eat. This means integrate. Bring them under awareness, alignment, and truth. So what was once part of misalignment now becomes part of alignment. Modern parallel. This situation resembles moments where, after removing unhealthy patterns, you begin to reclaim parts of yourself that were not inherently wrong but needed realignment. For example, keeping certain habits but reshaping them in a healthier way. Transforming instincts or tendencies instead of eliminating them entirely. using past experiences as growth instead of letting them define you negatively. You begin to see not everything needs to be removed. Some things need to be realigned. And when they are, they begin to serve you. And that is what this verse represents. The reclamation and integration of what remains, where after misalignment is removed, perception, awareness, and instincts are brought under truth and become aligned rather than discarded. Next verse, Deuteronomy 20, verse 15. Thus, you shall do to all the cities which are very far from you, which are not of the cities of these nations. Cities far from you represents distant beliefs or external systems or less internalized patterns. Not of these nations represents not deeply rooted within identity. Thus you shall do means apply the same process or same principle. Cities represent structured systems or belief frameworks. Now we see a distinction. Not all systems are the same. Cities far from you. These represent external or distant patterns. Ideas you were exposed to are not deeply rooted in. Systems outside your core identity. Beliefs that are not foundational. Unlike deeply internalized patterns like Egypt or Amalek, these are less embedded. So the same process applies. Approach, offer alignment, confront if necessary. But they do not require the same depth of dismantling because they are not part of your foundation. Modern parallel. This situation resembles how some beliefs or influences are easier to deal with than others. For example, encountering ideas you can easily reject because they were never deeply rooted. Recognizing external influences that don't strongly affect your identity. Addressing surface level patterns that don't require deep internal work. You begin to see not everything carries the same weight. Some patterns are foundational, others are peripheral. And that is what this verse represents. The distinction between deeply rooted patterns and distant influences, where not all systems require the same level of transformation because some are not embedded within your core identity. Next verse, which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance. Inheritance represents received patterns or conditioning. Inherited systems are beliefs passed down or learned identity. Paul's inheritance means identity in alignment or true nature. The saint's inheritance represents restored awareness or divine identity. Possession is what you take ownership of. In Deuteronomy, inheritance represents what you received without choosing. Cultural beliefs, religious teachings, fear-based systems, identity shaped by environment. These are inherited patterns, and some of them must be deconstructed. Now, Paul speaks of another inheritance. This is not learned, imposed, or conditioned. This is revealed. It is your true identity, alignment, wholeness, and clarity. So we see two layers. Old inheritance in Deuteronomy must be examined, and if misaligned, removed. True inheritance, taught by Paul, must be realized and embodied. So the process becomes deconstruction to restoration. You release what you inherited unconsciously, so you can receive what is truly yours. Modern parallel. This situation resembles realizing that not everything you grew up with defines who you truly are. For example, questioning beliefs you were taught and choosing what aligns with truth. Recognizing that your identity is not limited to your upbringing. Letting go of conditioned thinking to discover your authentic self. You begin to see inheritance is not just what you were given, it is also what you choose to embody. And that is what this connection reveals. There is an inherited identity that must be examined and, if necessary, released. And a true inheritance that must be realized, which reflects your aligned and authentic nature. Next verse, Deuteronomy 20, verse 17. But you shall utterly destroy them, the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, just as the Lord your God has commanded you. Utterly destroy means fully deconstruct. Leave nothing unaddressed. Nations represent distinct patterns or belief systems. The Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. They represent specific types of distortions or conditioned mindsets. Commanded is aligned instruction or truth directive. Now we see specific patterns are named. These nations represent different categories of misalignment. Not random, but structured distortions. Each one symbolizes ways of thinking, ways of perceiving, and ways of living that are not aligned with truth. So the instruction is utterly destroy, meaning do not leave fragments, because each of these patterns has influence, and if even one remains, it can reshape your thinking, distort your perception, reintroduce misalignment. So this is about complete deconstruction, not partial, total clarity. Modern parallel. This situation resembles identifying and addressing different types of limiting beliefs or patterns in your life. For example, recognizing multiple layers of conditioning that affect how you think. Identifying different mindsets that don't align with your growth. understanding that transformation requires addressing all aspects, not just one. You begin to see misalignment is not one thing, it is layered. And each layer must be seen clearly and addressed fully. And that is what this verse represents. The complete deconstruction of layered distortions, where all forms of misalignment must be addressed to ensure that no fragment remains to influence your alignment. Next verse. Lest they teach you to do according to all their abominations, which they have done for their gods, and you sin against the Lord your God. Symbolic breakdown. Teach is influence or condition or shape thinking. Abominations represent distorted patterns or misaligned behaviors. Gods represent false authorities or belief systems. Sin means miss the mark or misalignment. Lord your God is truth or alignment. Now we are told why complete removal is necessary. Because what remains teaches. Lest they teach you. This is powerful because it shows patterns are not passive, they influence. Even if they seem small, they seem harmless. If they remain, they will shape your thinking, influence your perception, and guide your behavior. Then it says, they are abominations. Not moral condemnation, but distorted ways of operating, ways that are misaligned, fear-based, and rooted in illusion. And these are connected to their gods, meaning the beliefs behind the behavior, because behavior comes from belief. So if the belief remains, the behavior returns. Modern parallel. This situation resembles how certain influences shape your thinking over time. For example, keeping certain beliefs that subtly influence your decisions. Being around ideas or environments that slowly affect your mindset. Holding on to patterns that eventually shape your actions again. You begin to see what you allow to remain will influence you, whether consciously or not. And that is what this verse represents. The influence of remaining misalignment, where any pattern left unaddressed continues to teach and shape your thinking, eventually leading back into misalignment if not fully removed. Next verse. You shall not destroy its trees, for the tree of the field is man's food. Trees represent life structures or sources of fruit or inner systems. We see the Genesis 2 trees, foundational awareness, life versus knowledge. We also see Nebuchadnezzar's tree, which is elevated identity or the constructed self. We see cut down, which is humbling or deconstruction. We see stamp remains, which is core preserved or potential restoration. We see fruit, which is lived result or nourishment. Across scripture, trees consistently represent structures that produce life. In Genesis 2, trees represent sources of understanding, what you partake of. What shapes your experience? Now, in Deuteronomy, trees that bear fruit are preserved because they nourish, sustain, and give life. But then we see Nebuchadnezzar's tree. This is powerful. The tree is cut down, but the stump remains. Why? Because it represents an identity that must be humbled. Not completely destroyed, but reduced to its roots, so it can be restored correctly. So now we see 3 layers. In Genesis, trees shape awareness, what you consume. In Deuteronomy, preserve trees that give life, that's aligned patterns. In Nebuchadnezzar, cut down distorted elevation, but preserve the roots for restoration. This shows transformation is not random. It is intentional discernment. Some trees keep. Some trees humble. Some trees completely remove. Modern parallel. This situation resembles how different parts of your life require different responses during growth. For example, keeping habits that nourish you, humbling parts of your identity that became inflated, completely removing patterns that are harmful. You begin to see growth is not one action, it is discernment. Knowing what to preserve, what to reduce, and what to remove. And that is what this connection reveals. Trees represent life structures. Some must be preserved because they nourish. Some must be humbled because they were elevated wrongly. And some must be removed entirely to restore true alignment. The last verse, Deuteronomy 20 verse 20. Only the trees which you know are not trees for food, you may destroy and cut them down, to build sage works against the city that makes war with you until it is subdued. Symbolic breakdown. Trees not for food represents non-life-giving patterns and fruitful systems. Destroy or cut down is remove or deconstruct completely. Build sage works is use discernment strategically or reinforce truth. City making war is resistant mindset or opposing system. Subdued is brought under alignment. Now we see the balance completed. Not all trees are preserved. Some trees do not produce life. They represent unfruitful beliefs, harmful patterns, systems that drain rather than nourish. These must be cut down, not adjusted, removed. But here is something powerful. They are not wasted. They are used to build sage works, meaning what you remove becomes material for transformation. The very patterns that opposed you, resisted truth, now become tools to reinforce clarity, strengthen alignment, and confront deeper resistance. So even misalignment is repurposed. Remember, the devil and his agents were cast into the fire. In Revelation. So the very patterns that opposed you and resisted truth are repurposed. Modern parallel. This situation resembles using past experiences or patterns as tools for growth rather than letting them remain as obstacles. For example, learning from past mistakes and using that understanding to grow. Transforming harmful patterns into lessons that strengthen you. Using previous struggles as insight to navigate future challenges. You begin to see nothing is wasted. Even what is removed can be used to build strength. And that is what this verse represents. The removal and repurposing of unfruitful patterns, where what does not give life is cut down, but then used to strengthen the process of transformation until full alignment is established. That is why in Revelation, even hell is cast into the lake of fire. Hell, your darkest moments, your lowest moments, are all refined to strengthen the process of transformation. Heaven and hell are not locations, they are states of consciousness. That is why Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. Some translations say the kingdom of heaven is within you. Hell is also within you because they are states of consciousness, not locations. So what we've seen throughout this teaching is that passages that once felt difficult begin to reveal a clear and consistent pattern when we remember what the kingdom is. Because if the kingdom of God is within you and Christ is within you, then every instruction, every command, every battle is revealing something within you. And in Deuteronomy 20, the pattern becomes clearer. This is not random. This is not contradiction. This is structure. A structure that shows you how inner transformation unfolds, when to engage, when to release, what to confront, and what to preserve. Not people, but patterns. Not external battles, but inner alignment. What we've seen so far, not a God of violence, but a God of transformation. So now, if the Bible tells you God is light and in him is no darkness at all, we understand. Now we see why the Bible says so. What we thought was violence, because we did not understand the symbolic language, is actually transformation. And this is where everything comes together. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the God of Israel, is not revealing a God who belongs to a few. It is revealing the God of those who walk in alignment, those who respond to truth, those who allow themselves to be refined, those who move from confusion into clarity. So my people has never been about exclusion. It has always been about invitation. And this is why Abraham is the father of many nations, not a few. Because this path is open to all who choose to see, who choose to align, who choose to walk in truth. So, I'm not asking you to simply agree. I'm inviting you to look again, to read again, to see inwardly. Because what if these scriptures were never against you, but always guiding you? Sit with that, and I will see you in the next teaching. Have a good evening.
My mind is awakened now. I see with open eyes. I don't live in the shadows. I don't believe the lies. No more fear of the unknown. No more weight on my soul. What was hidden is revealed. I am finally whole. I don't answer to guilt. I don't bow to shame. No voice of condemnation gets to call my name. I am awake now. I am free. I live from truth that lives in me. No fear, no shame, no chains remain. I walk in peace, overflowing peace. I don't welcome voices that oppose the light. Anything that fractures truth no longer has a right. My life flows freely, without limit, without strain. No distortion in my vision, no distortion in my name. If a thought brings fear, I let it go. If a voice brings doubt, I say no. I stay aligned, I stay clear. Only truth is welcome here. I am awake now. I am free. I live from truth that lives in me. No fear, no shame, no chains remain. I walk in peace, overflowing peace. I am awake now. I am awake now. I am awake now. I am not condemned. I was never lost. I am not broken. I don't count the cross. Life is moving through me, clear and strong. I am where I belong. I am awake now. I am alive. I live from love. I don't survive. No fear, no shame, no need to hide. My life goes free, unfiltered right. My mind is clear, my heart is still. I move in truth, I